welcome everyone to the Chronicles of Blaze, where we will dive into everything Blaze, up to and including Blaze vs. Blaze at Wrestlemania. At this time, I would like to bring in one half of the greatest Wrestlemania matchup of all time, Bobby Blaze. Welcome. Thanks for having me. First off, let me ask you this. Where have you been? You haven't been seen or heard from in a long time. Well, mostly just self-isolation. Fair enough. But would you care to elaborate on that any further? Not really. We'll just say this. There are a limited amount of people that can do what I do. Well, there are multiple people doing multiple leagues. Yeah, but that's not what I meant. How many people are the same exact persona in multiple leagues? How many people can air the same exact promo in multiple leagues and have it pertain to multiple leagues? That forbidden door of Prediction League Sports is opened ever so slightly, and I am here to bust through that motherfucker. Who else can do what Bobby Blaze does? The crossover king of Prediction League Sports. That's true. But man, what's your secret? Well, I think it starts with my passion for the business. Where did your passion for Prediction League Sports begin? We'll get there. But I'm not talking about prediction sports. I'm talking about my passion for professional wrestling. I've been extremely passionate about professional wrestling as far back as I can remember. It really all started back in the early 80s. I've always remembered watching wrestling. But I think I began to fall in love with it when I'd be watching back in the day with my brother Brian and our main homie Kevin Floyd, aka Doo-Doo and Kev Dog. Big ups, fellas. My brother, along with Kevin and his father, Mr. Floyd, were a very integral part of the wrestling influence on me growing up. So they've laid some of the foundation for what we have before us today. Yes, abso-fucking-lutely. Well, what about the eldest of the Borelli brothers, Steve? Ah, yes, the Borelli boys. Steve, Brian, and Bobby. The greatest faction of all time. The OG original Killer Bees. We were the Killer Bees before those fucking ass clowns in Bumblebee underwear were. You say greatest of all time. But didn't you guys turn on each other quickly and often? We definitely flip-flopped on each other, even more than the Big Show. But, like evolution says, adapt or perish. We were always adapting, because we will never perish. Well, what about the living room screw job? First of all, Steve screwed Steve. Secondly, it wasn't really a screw job. It was more of a realignment. Because when the two younger brothers put the older brother in the camel clutch and the Boston Crab at the same time, and he taps out, that changes the brother power dynamic forever. And I began to step out of the shadows of my brothers and earn their respect. Years later, Steve would actually be the one to take me to my first live wrestling event at the Richfield Coliseum, which is also where I came into contact with my first wrestler, the Texas Tornado, and I felt that electricity in person for the first time. In fact, long before the Fallen, I channeled the power of the Texas Tornado with a mighty tornado punch to KO my brother Brian while his friends looked on as I continued to step out of their shadows. You know, this is an amazing story and all, but what's it got to do with Blaze vs. Blaze at Wrestlemania? I don't think the people want to hear all this extra shit. Listen, I'm a storyteller and I'm going to tell my story. If they don't want to watch, fuck them. I'm not forcing anyone to watch. There's a stop button for a reason. And honestly, to tell the truth, this one isn't for them. This one's for me. WrestleMania 20 was right around the corner. Bobby.